I just had this moment and I just thought, this is it. It's kebabs.
And did you find it a big risk knowing that how many kebab shops are in Melbourne?
There's always a risk in everything. But again, I seen that moment, I automatically knew how I wanted Kebab Nation to actually run, look, feel, everything about it. People that aren't in the hospitality game don't know how hard it really is. I learned everything about customer service with that because it was a very tough market. And that's how the journey began with me in hospitality and why I love it. It's in my blood. Hey everyone, I'm Tony Awad and I'm the founder and CEO of Kebab Nation. Welcome to our podcast. We want to be as raw and real as possible. We've heard everyone say do this and do that, but we just thought I want to portray exactly who I am and who you are and what Kebab Nation is, our struggles, the reality to exactly what's going on and what we've been through.
Yeah. Well, for anyone that doesn't know me, I'm Trinity. I am Tony's daughter. I have been working inside of Kebab Nation since I was about 10 years old. Family business, it was legal. And we have sort of just built everything as a family. I worked on the floors up until probably the age of 17. Tried a new job because I was stubborn and thought that maybe I didn't want to do kebabs for the rest of my life, and then I came back realising that this is where I'm meant to be, and now I run the head of marketing, and we're also...
Hey, don't forget, you're not just head of marketing.
I'm his assistant. He loves to tell everyone that I'm his assistant.
But you are.
Yeah.
Right?
I am. I am.
Yeah.
Alright, so let's just get into it. So tell me about, let's just go start to finish, Kebab Nation. What was life before Kebab Nation and how did your journey into hospitality just start?
So maybe I should start from the start, like where the hospitality, why it's in my blood.
Yeah.
And okay, so our family was always hospitality. My earliest memory is us having a business with, so it was my dad and his twin brother, my Uncle John. We had a shop in Toorak, the Toorak Village, and it was a milk bar kind of, but it was back then it was a bougie kind of milk bar, had a bakery. Think milk bar, but think like when you think of chocolates back then, we're talking, how many years ago would it have been? I would have been about 14, 15.
So about 40.
About 40 years ago. 40. No, I'm not 55.
Oh, no, you just turned 50 this year.
Yeah.
So about 35.
Roughly around that.
Okay, yeah.
And my earliest memories of my dad, like he had the early shift and my Uncle John had the later shift, so it was split up. Did I mention they were twin brothers?
No, I don't think so. But
So twin brothers. So we'd get up, we'd lived in Preston and it was probably about a 40-minute drive to Toorak, and we'd get up at about 5 o'clock in the morning. I remember my dad having coffees and so on, and then we'd all drive up to the shop. And then back in those days, or in our industry, there was the milkmen that used to come and drop off milk. And these are my first memories, is my dad teaching me how to actually take control of an order with drivers and explaining that drivers can make mistakes. And sometimes they do it by accident, and sometimes they do it on purpose. So it's very important that you check everything that comes through. And I was nervous because I had to confront this bigger man back then. It was like a bit sort of nerve-wracking, and I got through it. And they're my first memories of actually being in hospitality. So our background was, I pretty much would like to say, my dad, he passed away when I was about 14. And my Uncle John taught me everything I knew about hospitality, and he was a very good operator. He was very regiment. Everything had to be done a certain way and it was done properly. And then from that, I brought that into my hospitality journey, and I thank my Uncle John for that. He's passed away as well, so God bless him. That's how, or would I say,
that's where your story really began.
That's where it began. I was born into hospitality.
Pretty much, yeah.
And being in Toorak as well, like Toorak was a pretty tough market, so you had different types of segregated groups in there. So you had Jewish people, you had Australians, and we're talking about all very wealthy people. And then you had your founders, starters that have become like super rich and so on. So I got to I made some good friends up there. I learned everything about customer service with that because it was a very tough market. And that's how I think the journey began with me in hospitality and why I love it. It's in my blood.
It is. Now it's in mine. I went down the similar path, guys. I've been doing this since I was 10, so. Alright, so now we've got your actual roots, how you got into it. Where was your first step as an individual going into the hospitality? What was your first step as an entrepreneur?
My first step, besides being young, I was always in trying to make money. Like, I'd buy things, sell it, try and start this business and so on. But my first serious business would have been a pizza shop. I was in that for over, I'd probably say 12, 14 years. From day one when we opened the doors of that place, I still remember we had a line going out the door all the way up the street. We marketed it pretty good. Back then as well, I got a good deal on it. So it was a business that was closed down, but it was fully fitted out. The old operators weren't operating it properly, and the landlord had taken it off them. I came in, and all he wanted back then, I think it was like 15,000, and he had an interview with me. There was actually a few people applying for that business and trying to get that business. And Neil, I remember his name was, had an interview with me, and we clicked off, and then he said, okay, like he let me sort of have that shop. I remember that one of our customers in that rush, he'd come up to me, he's been really polite to me, and he goes, listen mate, I just want to give you some good advice. Can I give you some advice? I'm like, yeah, 100%. And he goes, the dough isn't cooked, and he showed it to me, so we sort of half cooked it. Anyway, cut the story short, we ended up running a pretty good business, and then towards the end of it, the last 8 months of it, I got my cousin Fred involved. Caught up with him, spoke to him, I go, all right, come in. We need to get new ovens and give it a bit of a spruce, but then we wanted to sell it. So the deal was he'd come in with the amount that he was going to invest in, we'd fix the shop up and then sell it. Same thing, he came in, he did the evenings, I did the days, the prep side, this and that, all the way through till after the busy period, and he sort of took over, and we ended up selling that business. Then, yeah, we sold Checkers. In the lead up to selling our pizza business, a friend had come in and pitched an idea for this drink, and he wanted to get Australasian rights to it, and he was in the process of it. Back then, the drink was like a functional infused tea drink, but it was a really high-end drink. And he sold us the idea. I had no experience with drinks and how that industry worked, and I solely went on trusting what he had said. Again, live and learn in moments, but that's part of the whole business journey. So we sold the pizza business, and then we invested heavily into this drink business, and there was a few partners in there. What happened was, cutting the story short, it was a shit show, right? I didn't know the industry. As we were getting in there, it was bleeding more and more money. We were bringing more drinks. The drinks were going out of date. Partners weren't who I thought they were. There was a clash. Again, live and learn of who do you go in partnership. I always tell you got to really know who you're going to partnership with, right? It's so important. Anyway, it got to a point where I go, I'm not putting any money in. I'm out. Like, that's it. I knew the partnership, who I was working with, they weren't the right people, and it was the industry, the whole drink business. It's a different game altogether. Once you're in it, you understand it. Then it was like, okay, lick my wounds and move on. Again, live and learn. So that's another big lesson I learned is like, know who you go in partnership with, know what industry you're going with, do your research, right, before you even jump to any decision. But that's where I learned with that. And mum, she, if I listened to her 99% of the times, I'd probably be 100 times further ahead. But I've learnt that now. I do actually listen to mum.
She's always right, my mother.
That's right.
She's always right.
She is. Good old Amy. Or young Amy. So then Fred was in that business as well. He sort of stuck in there, was trying to recoup his money, selling some of the stock, while I sort of had enough. And I'm thinking, okay, what business do I want to get into? And me and Fred were talking, what business are we going to get into? And it actually took about a year of us working out what we wanted to do. We were trying different types of businesses going in it, and then we just thought, I had a really good think. Like, it was just one of those moments, you know, when you just by yourself and you're thinking, and I thought, hospitality's in my blood. I love it. So it took us about a year to work out. It was actually one whole year to work out or try and find out what we wanted to do. And then one day, Fred called me, and he's like, do you know what HSPs are? Mind you, this is probably about 10 years ago. It would have been about 10 years ago. Maybe 11, around that. Let's figure. Who cares? Let's not get all intricate on the timelines. And I'd never heard of a HSP, right? And he goes, well, he gave me address to this kebab place in Reservoir. It was your cliche kebab shop. There was nothing special. It was a small shop. So he's giving me the address. I remember driving down there, and then he was outside waiting. We both went in. We had a little chat outside. He's telling me about HSPs. And he's like, what he usually does, look, I found it, what we're going to get into. And I'm just looking at him like I usually do, like, what? Like, relax, funny, right? Anyway, we walk in, I ordered this HSP, watched what they were making, and then I sat down. It was a very small shop, sat down, and as we were sitting down, like, I'm just seeing people walk in. It was like, the demographics was very young back then. And it started getting really busy, and the vibe inside and everything. And I just had this moment, and I just thought, this is it. It's kebabs. And the last thing I would have wanted to do back then is do kebabs. Why? Because my background, Lebanese background, cliche kebab shop, like it was all about that ego kind of thing. And I'm like, far out. Anyway, so that went out the window, that whole ego. And I actually then and there, I just thought, okay, I actually seen that moment, and I thought, okay, I want to start kebab shops, but they have to be high-end, they have to be quality, and have to be set up like franchises. I always want to do franchising from the start, like, and that's another story, I'll get into that. So that's the moment when we realised, or I realised, thanks to Freddie, we've got to thank Freddie, can't take that away from you, Freddie, that we want to get into the kebab game.
Okay, so pretty much you went to a kebab shop in Reza. You seen it was your stereotypical, not the most appealing place to eat, not the most highest quality of food. And that's where you found your gap in the market, saying, yeah, there's lots of them. There's lots of kebab shops, but
that was the moment when I realised what I wanted to do. But then research came in after that.
Yeah.
So.
And did you find it a big risk knowing that how many kebab shops are in Melbourne? And
there's always a risk in everything. But again, I seen that moment. I automatically knew how I wanted Kebab Nation to actually run, look, feel, everything about it. So then the research came in about now researching everything kebabs. We went to every kebab place. I had eaten that many kebabs in a matter of 4 months of research.
We were eating there at every kebab shop for dinner. I would say at least 4 times a week.
Plus, I'd be just, and you know what I'm like as well, like 24/7, morning to night. I was from one start of Melbourne to the end of Melbourne, every store, every place. And back then there was this thing called the HSP Society.
Oh, I remember that.
It
on
was
Facebook.
It was Facebook days, right? And there was like, I don't know how many 100,000.
Yeah, I think there was like a couple 100,000 people.
And back then on Facebook to have that, and it was very like, all the kebab shops were competing on it. It was like a lot of hype behind it. Everyone was rating HSPs, and it was massive, right?
It was a very passive aggressive Facebook group.
It was.
Like, it was like who was better than, like, you had to be the top of the top. Like, people posting your HSPs in there.
It was crazy.
It was a big thing.
It was crazy.
You had to be there.
Anyway, so that research, that came into that. And then now I'm like, oh, where am I going to open one? And we, at the moment, were living on the street in Watsonia, on Watsonia Road. And I knew there was an empty store there. Then me and Fred had a little business plan. Oh, okay, how much is this going to cost us? And I'd never fitted out a shop before. All right? And then we worked it out, and we worked it out like it was going to cost us like, I think 70,000, right? And then we started the fit out, like we did the fit out ourselves, had tradie mates, etc. And as we were going into it, the more and more we were going into it, the more it was costing. And like that budget now was like, we're at 70 grand and we're not even halfway through this thing. And Fred started stressing out. Fred's very conservative, very risk adverse, right? And he's not a risk taker, right? Now there's two different personalities now, or whatever you'd call it. Fred's very risk adverse. I'm research. If I come up with the idea, do my research, all that, I'll go for it.
You take calculated risks.
Very
and
calculated.
You're comfortable with that.
Very calculated risk. I do, yeah, that's right. And then I could tell Fred was stressing out, and I remember this moment exactly. So we're in the shop, and he was sort of measuring up where the bench seating are now in Watsonia, and I was on the other side, and there was like this kind of tension between us. Nothing bad, but it was normal, right? Like every relationship. And I could tell he was stressing out bad. I know his personality as well. And then I said to him, I'm like, listen, if you want to pull out of this, you're more than, like, you can pull out, I'm fine. I'm going to actually fix this shop up. Because I couldn't set up a shop. I had the vision of how I wanted it. It had to be a franchise. It had to look like a franchise. It had to be modern. It had to be, like, people coming in had to actually sort of have that wow factor. And back then, 10 years ago, when we first built it, and that's where it was going.
Yeah.
So then Fred did, he actually pulled out of it. So then it was me and Mum. Fred helped.
Fred done a lot of the labour. He was really in there.
100%. So he was out now. So the risk that he actually now financially, he wasn't invested in there. He's actually out of it, but then he was going to be working with us anyway.
Yeah.
So then I finished off, and that probably cost me triple that to fit it out. And at the same time, I had no experience in kebabs.
At all.
So
I think also, let me just add, I think a really important key factor, if you've never been into our shops before, if you've never been on Watsonia Road before, this is going about 10 years ago. Watsonia Road was nothing glam. It was honestly a big risk within itself, I think, putting a shop there, especially where we had it at the time. It was really underdeveloped. There wasn't nowhere near amount of families around. Kids just started going to Watsy shops. I think by Dad also wanting to have that franchise mindset, that aesthetic look right in that front shop on Watsonia Road itself, was also a massive risk.
Well, I knew not really, you know why?
Tell me.
Because I had the pizza shop on the same street.
Yeah, people don't know that.
That's right.
His pizza shop was also on the same street as well.
That's right. So I knew the street and the area
Good
inside
point.
out. So that calculated risk was, I knew if I had brought something that the area didn't have, I knew the people were there. I was known in the area as well, right? So then I just knew if I had built this state of the art, it looked amazing, and what I wanted to do, I knew it was going to work, right? I knew the area, so it wasn't like me taking a risk like what you think.
Well, guys, you're watching me being mentored right now as well.
That's right.
The more I learn.
That's right. Anyway, so I didn't have any experience going back to. I didn't have experience with kebabs, but there's your calculated risk. What I had to do is I hired people that had a lot of experience in the industry to teach us everything from opening up to once they left. I employed people that had experience in the game, and then I learnt from there. Okay, leading up was crazy, right? This was a lot bigger than what I'd ever done before, with organisation, the type of shop, the investment that I put in, the amount of people that were working for us, and the rest of it, right? Leading up to it, it was exhausting. I was exhausted, like trying to get everything ready, from having everything there, having the team there, having your products in there, getting ready for opening. You're opening a new shop, there's a lot to it as well. There's all these bits, you've never opened this shop before, there's all these pieces where they need to be, from behind the counter to the customer side, to your kitchen side, to prep, to stock. There's just so much, it just goes on, right? So opening day, I was exhausted. And when I say me, it's Mum as well. Every time, whatever I'm saying about myself here, Mum was working twice as hard.
My mum, guys, not his mum.
Yeah, not my mum. My wife, Amy.
My mother.
Yeah, that's right. She is a machine, mate. When we opened those doors, it was mayhem. You could not see, all you could see was heads, right? And it was non-stop from opening to close. We couldn't keep up. We couldn't even keep up with prep. We're cutting lettuce. We had people inside the kitchen, 2-3 people, just cutting lettuce, onion, tomatoes, you name it, whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
And we still couldn't keep up, and we had no break. And mind you, I had a year off from working like intensely, or not intensely, working at all, right? And I remember that first morning, like going to sleep, when we got home, packing up, cleaning up, the rest of it, right? I got up in the morning and I looked at Mum and I just said, what have we done? Like my body, I had every bone in my body, every muscle, in my body was, I've looked at it, I've gone like, it's just too crazy, it's too busy. I think it wasn't the first day, it was like a few days into it. But yeah, I was just really busy straight from the start.
We had lines going down past the BP on Watsonia Road. I vividly remember because I went to get a slushie and there was just people. I'm thinking, this is only going to get busier. But I think there's a really good story that is sort of like a full circle moment that you haven't brought up. So remember how with your pizza shop, you got that piece of advice to actually cook your dough? He got some more advice with our kebab shop on the first day.
Okay, first day, like I said, it was crazy, right? Non-stop. And I was on the bar. There was we had a line, so we had a line. I don't know,
Cook line?
Cook line, that's it.
There we go.
Anyway, orders are coming in and we're in the zone and everyone's sort of making. I had an experienced guy on one side, another experienced on the other guy, and I'm in the middle. And I've got the order. It's come in, sourced it, wrapped it up, whatever, and put it on there. And then another moment came, like you said. A guy comes in, he goes, "Excuse me, buddy." And we're real busy. And I'm like, well, anyone that works in hospitality, when you're in the zone and you're that busy and then a customer wants to talk to you, no matter how much you want to talk to them, the last thing you want to do is actually talk to anyone. You know, if you know, you know. Yeah, they say, if you know, you know. Anyway, I've sort of looked at him and he's like, "Oh, mate, there's no meat in this."
It was just lettuce, onion, tomato.
Just lettuce, onion, tomato, that's right. I was in that, I thought I was killing it. Right, I'm now wrapping things up, and I've just wrapped it up without meat.
Oh, that was so bad. Alright, so now take us through, obviously we've been doing this for almost a decade now. We're getting close to it. Tell me all about that from year one to all the way till currently.
Okay. So, running a business, firstly, is pretty hard, right? Be straight out. Like, people that aren't in the hospitality game don't know how hard it really is. So that saying, and I love this saying, blood, sweat and tears, in the hospitality game, that's what it's about. And especially if you've got a very busy business, right? And then especially if you need